Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Blatstein, the physician founder of Physician Prison Consultants Pre-Sentence Report Service. Today, I'm going to discuss it's really important to ask the right questions when you're hiring a criminal defense attorney. You want to make sure that it's a good match for you. It's probably even more important than when you get married, because you get married, you can get a divorce. Here, at some point, if you decide that you really don't want to be with this firm, but you're already in the midst of negotiating with prosecutors, getting ready for trial, it's not that easy to jump ship and start all over again. It is possible. And it's better to, if you feel that at some point you need better legal representation for you, you need to make that known and then make, the change. But hiring an attorney doesn't just mean that they have experience, but they need to have experience with cases like yours in federal court. Now, if in fact at some juncture you feel that you're guilty, or at least you have a degree of culpability here, this is a strategic conversation between you and your attorney, but you may not have to spend a lot of money on attorney fees and discovery fees. At the same time, your attorney is able to potentially negotiate with the prosecutor, and that in turn could cost you not only less in legal fees, but you may wind up with a better result in front of the judge at some point, or maybe not at all. You maybe not have to go in front of the judge. The probation officer preparing your probation report, it's very important that you want to make an ally or an advocate of that probation officer, because judges depend on the probation officers, the individuals who interview you for your pre-sentence report. So that would be at the pre-sentence interview, because judges depend on them as for their recommendations regarding your sentence, regarding placement, and regarding your character, whether they like you, not like you, trust you, don't trust you. And so this is a whole different YouTube. But the pre-sentence interview probation officer is probably one of the most important meetings you'll have in your lifetime. Please feel free. You can have a free consult with me. I return all my own phone calls. The phone number is 240-888-7778. Leave a message if I don't pick up. I return all of my own calls. You want to ask the right questions. Did you receive a target letter? Um, did you get a visit by the FBI at your front door of your home? Are you facing a grand jury subpoena? You don't want to get generic legal advice. What you want to get is advice by someone who practices federal criminal defense in federal court. And if you're under federal investigation or facing charges, there are several important questions that you need to ask counsel. And don't pass this off. You may want to bring someone with you, because you may not be thinking 100%, on top of your game, so to speak. But having someone with you who you're able to bounce ideas off after the interview is going to be important. So here are some of the questions. They want to practice federal criminal defense in federal court. Are they familiar with your judge? If they are not, if they have not been or conducted a bit, have been to the courtroom and seen your judge in action, they don't understand the nuances of the judge's likes, dislikes, what you can do, what you can't do. It's maybe a good idea to reach out to a local federal public defender in that district so that they could give your attorney and you a little bit of a heads up. As I said, you want experience in cases like yours. It's important because while it sounds like common sense, I've had a client that really never asked. I've had several clients who didn't ask these questions, and consequently, either the attorney wasn't familiar with federal criminal law, wasn't familiar with this particular judge, but you want to learn all this up ahead of time. Interviewing these attorneys is an opportunity if you need to have a good match. They should be able to provide, if you ask, several clients for you to talk to ease some of your concerns. They may say that they have to check with these individuals first, but that makes sense. Are they willing to share several sentencing memorandums that are, that they've used or written in cases similar to yours? We understand that HIPAA is a privacy, but on most PDF documents, all they have to do is hit redact, click the redact button, and they can redact all the personal information. And you need to really have a comfort with this attorney, because you want to know that if you have ideas or questions, that they'll listen to you, especially if you're paying them. During the interview, you want to ask them, when do they recommend preparing for the pre-sentence interview and the sentencing hearing? And the best answer from my perspective was yesterday. They want to, do they charge hourly fees or flat fees? If you want to go to trial, that's okay. Just feeling that you're in the right, though, is not going to be enough because the Department of Justice has a very high conviction rate. There are other questions. How many trials, have, or trials or appeals, what percentage have they won or not out of cases like yours? When you go to trial, it's okay, but keep in mind you do not want to anger the court because at some juncture, you may have to be back in front of the same judge for leniency, and you don't want to create an enemy right away. What's their current caseload? How busy are they? Some federal defenders may be as good at it, or maybe better than some private counsel. Why not yet law? Your attorney could be familiar with the Fairness and Restitution Act. If you anticipate owing restitution, the following will apply. If you have some fines and really no restitution, then you need to go into the pre-sentence interview with documentation saying that you are clean. You don't owe any money to anybody. That is very important. But if there's restitution, you want to show that the actual loss sustained by the victim was a direct result of what you did, not other people. Eliminate joint liability to ensure defendants are only responsible for the losses they caused, which I just covered. It may be possible, but not likely, to see if they can change the statutory period for liability from 20 to 10 years. You want to exempt any reduction in restitution owed from being counted as income for tax purposes. And you want to verify that there's going to be an interest or no interest box. You want to be on the no interest side of that of that topic. When do they feel is the best time to begin preparing for your pre-sentence interview? Well, attorneys and judges interviewed have said that the earliest you can prepare, the better, because some judges have found that by the time they get to sentencing, they feel that the attorney has not prepared their client for having a conversation with them in the courtroom. From good advice from attorney John Ellis. No, from attorney John May. Here's his phone number. How many times has the attorney convinced prosecutor not to charge? Have you ever convinced the prosecutor to drop charges? How many times have you tried a case as a defense attorney? How many times have you had the judge dismiss charges against clients? How many times have they heard the words not guilty in cases like yours? How many times have you had a judge very downward from the guidelines? And last, how many times have you had a client convicted of a felony just received probation or house arrest? These are all very good questions. And from an attorney, John May, the best lawyers are not going to try and evade these questions. The best lawyers are not going to won't hesitate because they've actually won some cases. I hope you found this helpful, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen today. And if you have any questions, please do not call, and have a safe day for you and your family.